The work to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education has come to Maryland.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps talked with Education Secretary Linda McMahon, who believes Baltimore City is a prime example of how Washington's involvement in public education has failed.
I will well and faithfully.
On March 3rd, 2025,
discharge the duties of the office.
Linda McMahon became the 13th confirmed secretary of the U.S. Department of Education, and she plans to be the last.
Absolutely. That is the directive from the president. That's what I was hired to do.
Project Baltimore recently sat down with McMahon as part of her Returning Education to the States tour. The tour, launched after President Donald Trump signed an executive order in March to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. When the president signed the order, he justified it by pointing to low academic achievement, and he singled out Baltimore City public schools.
In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics.
That grim statistic was first reported by Fox 45 News in 2023, when we analyzed Maryland state testing data and found in 13 of Baltimore's 33 high schools, 0 students who took the state math exam scored proficient.
When you heard President Trump say that 40% of the high schools in Baltimore City did not have any students test proficient in math, what did you think?
It was stunning to me that that would still be happening in our country, that in a city school, that level of lack of education would still be going on. How can we continue to fail our kids?
Since President Trump signed the executive order, McMahon tells Fox 45 her department's staffing levels have been cut in half, down from 4,200 employees to around 2,100. And certain functions of the Department of Education have been relocated to other federal agencies.
Since the Department of Education was established, we've spent about $3 trillion on our public school system, and we've seen our scores continually decline. So we're clearly doing something wrong.
We don't know that will hurt all students.
Becky Pringle is the president of the National Education Association, the teachers union. The NEA, which opposes dismantling the department, explains on its website that its own advocacy helped establish the education department in 1980, and gutting it would lead to less resources for our most vulnerable students, larger class sizes, fewer special education services. The union argues that for low-income communities and for civil rights protections, dismantling the DOE would be catastrophic.
How can they stand in the face of the stat that you and I just talked about? 40% of schools in Baltimore. It is catastrophic now, because these teachers and these administrators are not being held accountable.
When McMahon finishes her tour, she plans to assemble a best practices toolkit to show school systems what is working across the nation to improve academic outcomes.
And that's what I'm in the process of doing.
But as far as the federal government's involvement in public education, McMahon says the DOE has failed, with struggling school systems like Baltimore being a prime example. Improving student outcomes, McMahon says, must start locally.
I think the parents have to be absolutely involved in what's going on with their children. They have to demand accountabilities, from those teachers and from those school board members. And I think to the extent that we can continue to put pressure on them to do that, that will, and provide them with what we have found that works, is the best that can happen from the federal level.
Fully abolishing the U.S. Department of Education would require a congressional vote. McMahon tells Fox 45 News she is working with U.S. House and Senate members to make that vote happen before President Trump's term expires. I'm Chris Papps, and this is Project Baltimore.
Hi, I'm Maxine Stryker. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and check out Fox Baltimore on social media to find more stories like this.